Woo! All right, guys. Today we're going to be talking about something really fun and exciting. We are going to get really nerdy and geeky with this photography stuff, right? So I've given you the basics, some of the things you need to look for when you're looking to purchase your camera. Now, this is the next step, kind of explaining some of the details, and we're going to really start getting pretty nerdy with our conversation, if you will. And today's topic is the sensor size. I'm going to actually just make this whole video um, based on the sensor because it's such an important factor when determining the different levels of your camera levels. So I already talked to you about the different camera levels. There's your entry level point and shoots, and then you go into the enthusiast, and then you start changing your lenses, and you have your interchangeable lens cameras, the mirrorless, and then you have your mirror cameras with your DSLRs, and then you go to the pro levels with your full frame sensors. Now, one thing I didn't mention actually is a full frame, not a full frame, a medium format camera. I'll talk about that later. But this is a classic, if you will, this, if you will, this is a sensor chart. So it just goes over the different sensor sizes. Now, when you go to a respectable camera or website, I won't say camera or website, a website, they should give you a pretty good detail on the different specifications of a camera, of the camera you're purchasing. When you're going to buy a smartphone, a TV, or a computer, most companies will have the list of the different specs. Some of them will just brush over the main things that most consumers care about, which is your resolution or something, or the megapixels on the camera. But if you're like really into this, you want more information, stores like online like adorama.com and your B&H video websites, I'll link those. So those really go in and break down details of the cameras, the specs. And this is one thing you will find, the sensor size. So if you're buying a point and shoot, you're going to start on the lower end over here. And then you move up to your DSLRs, your full frame sensors. And all the way on the top, actually encapsulating all of this, is your medium format. So these are some numbers on here. Don't really need to worry about that. Just know, in general, the trend is increase in image quality as you go up this ladder. Over here, you have your 1 over 2.3 inches. You can calculate that whatever you want, but this is under 1 inch. And actually, with your smartphone cameras, they're starting to get bigger, the camera the camera sensors on there, but they're under this. So you can kind of see the argument of why a smartphone camera doesn't get the job done compared to a full-fledged DSLR. You're working with a smaller sensor. I don't care what anyone else says. Physically, you have a smaller sensor. Camera phones are getting pretty good to the point that you're not missing your point and shoot, maybe even your DSLR. But on a good day, you take both out, your DSLR is always going to outperform your smartphone camera. So 1 over 2.3. This is going to be your entry level point and shoot. And then once you start going up, you get more into this range right here, which is going to be more of your enthusiast camera. You might actually start seeing a sensor size of maybe 1 point something inches or whatever it is. I don't have the exact numbers, but you get the point. You start seeing a bigger sensor size, and with that increase in sensor size, you also see an increase in the image quality. So that's why some of these enthusiasts or these specialty point and shoot cameras have a higher price and produce that in better image quality. It's justified because you're getting the bigger sensor. So then you move up, and we have here a 4/3 system. This came out maybe, I don't remember, like 7 years ago. Micro 4/3 system came out and was pretty popular. With the Micro 4/3 system, you have a much bigger sensor, as you can see, compared to the other ones. And with this, some of them had interchangeable lenses on them, so you can switch the lens kind of like with a DSLR. But there was no mirror on these. which made them unique. So they were pretty compact, and they were compact in the way that a point and shoot is, but they packed in this huge sensor in there, so you're getting much better image quality. You can't even compare that to your smartphone. And with that compactness, usually what you would see in technology is with compact products and portability. You pay a premium for that, and these cameras were expensive. So now you have more of your mirrorless cameras with the APS-C sized sensors. So that is the next step, and actually the level of lens sensor that I have on my camera. So you have right here Canon's APS-C sized system that references some whatever. I don't remember. Actually, before I go on, Tech Radar, I'm going to link this on here. It kind of goes over some things and talks about the different aspects of the camera sensor. And I really like this article right here. It does a lot of explanation on exactly what you're looking for. So go on there and read some of it. And it kind of explains some of this, some of the different nomenclatures, and you can get really nerdy with it if you like, but just for the purpose. So with Canon, this is why some people might make this argument, but in general, they're pretty similar in image quality. But with the APS-C size, you're seeing this with a Nikon and your Pentax and your Sony, and they actually have a slightly bigger sensor than your Canon APS-C system. So there's different with these sensor sizes. That's a specific class, APS-C sized cameras, and you can also see interchangeable lens mirrorless cameras in this level as well as DSLRs. I have a DSLR. I have more functionality with that, and we can go into another discussion about the differences between a mirrorless camera and a DSLR. But that'll be enough for that for today. But then you see another step up right here, APS-H from Canon. I haven't really seen. I don't think I've seen much of this. I don't think I've ever seen any of this. But usually the next step up is a full frame sensor. Now, full frame, you see the difference. This is going from your point and shoot pretty much to the micro four thirds, if you will. Not really. More of this right here, the CX Nikon. But you can see the point is there's a huge jump. This is why a full frame camera costs way more than your other cameras that you're going to get. Base price around 800 for the body and up, probably even in the thousands. What am I saying? Most likely in the thousands. Really expensive, but you get great images with this. All right, and then even further than this, you have the big guy on here, the medium format. This is unheard of from consumers. Consumers do not know what this is. Even people who dabble around with cameras. I got my Canon point and shoot, and I was messing around. I knew about these. I actually read about medium format, but I really didn't know what it was because you just don't even see those on camera websites even. You go on there, you're seeing your full frames and all of these different class levels because the price is just so expensive for these. You have to go out and seek this. I've never seen one in person, but I would love to get my hands on one of those. They actually just came out with a mirrorless medium format camera by Hasselblad, and that camera is gonna be insane. All right, so these are your different frame sizes, your your sensor sizes. They determine the image quality, and with that, megapixels as well plays a factor into your image quality. This website, definitely go on here. It then goes on and talks about megapixels and how that affects things. Some of you guys might be already familiar with this with smartphones. This is something that's going on. If you recall back in the days, it was a megapixel war. Every phone, they were increasing the megapixel on there, and that was their selling point. And for the average consumer, they don't know anything about cameras. They don't understand the mechanics behind producing the image and how the sensor is actually one of the biggest determinant factors for the image quality. And actually packing a lot of pixels on a sensor, on a small sensor, is actually kind of detrimental. So you will see some techniques where the sensor actually comes with fewer megapixels, and that helps with low light images and some other things. But in general, if you have a higher megapixel count, that means you get a higher resolution. Some cameras, your smartphone cameras are ranging around 12 megapixels. My Nikon D7100 has 24 megapixels, I want to say. So that's a pretty good size. 18 megapixels is even good because with some older models, like on the previous Nikon model, D7000, I think maybe 18 megapixels. Those aren't bad. For the average consumer, that's going to be great because you're not going to blow up your image to the point where you start seeing the loss of detail and resolution that you would need a high megapixel camera for. For what you're doing, sharing your images on social media and things, 18 megapixels is going to do you fine, plenty enough. All right. So that's another thing to look into. So your sensor size and the megapixel count. Go on this website for sure. Read some of that, and then when you go out shopping, look at, like I said, Adorama, B&H Video. They should have the details on the sensor size and some of these other specifications, so you can better make your decision when you're purchasing your camera. All right. All right. So that's it. Leave any comments that you want, any questions, things you want me to go over while you're reading this. If something doesn't make sense, just post a comment, and I'll be able to explain it more. Yeah. All right.